And I'll let you open up in prayer, and then I can start. It's here.
Not sure if I unmuted it.
Oh, wait a minute there. It's stuck in behind this. Better do it the right way, eh? No, it's the blue light's on. No, it's not on? Okay. 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 I guess we'll begin, and Pastor Brock's going to open up in prayer. Yeah, okay. Amen. Thank you. Yes, as I start today, I want to just begin with an overview so that you'll understand what I went through in the week. It was a totally different week that I spent in Cuba. At the beginning, I said I thought I felt under attack by the enemy, even before I left till when I arrived. And I didn't realize that I was physically ill to leave. I had pneumonia. I had pneumonia for about 3 weeks. I thought it was sinus, and I left to go to Cuba with pneumonia. And it just went downhill from there. And then I was concerned about all the sickness that's there. There was dengue, chikungunya, or whatever it's called, Zika, Oropush, and a rat infestation that all hit Cuba at the same time because of Hurricane Melissa. And so anyhow, today I'm in prayer, and I'm praying, and I just sensed in my spirit that it wasn't the enemy that was attacking me. It was God that used me this way. And I think what he wanted to do is to show me that I would feel their pain, I'd feel their suffering, and I'd feel everything that they felt, so that I'd come back with a different overview of what they're living. And that's what I'm sensing in my spirit today now. I'm still processing a lot of this stuff that happened on my trip, because it was very emotional. It was emotionally, it was draining physically, emotionally, and even spiritually when I went there. However, with that all being said, I think the trip was a success. I think God moved. And just to give you an idea, the car ride from Holguin to Chaparra was like driving through a minefield. It's 46 kilometers, and it took an hour and a half. Some of the holes in the road, if the car would hit it at full speed, it'd ruin the car. I mean, we're just driving like this, and you'll see pictures a little later of that. And that's the main road to go from Holguin to Chaparra. And the country has deteriorated considerably since the last time I've been there. And it was quite heartbreaking to see, just to see the deterioration that took place. There's still ongoing rations there for flour, sugar, and other products. There's a shortage of food. There's a shortage of gas. And in the little village where I was in Chaparra, there's no ambulances anymore. The ambulance come from Puerto Padre, which is 16 kilometers away. Now you can imagine getting a call and driving down that minefield to get there. If you're really sick, the ambulance won't make it. And the hospitals there have no medicine. They tell you, don't go to the hospital, you're going to go there, you're going to leave sicker because there's no medicine, and whatever sickness is there, you're liable to get it. And there's no hearses in Chaparra right now. If you die, you go to the cemetery in a horse and buggy. And if I understood right, there's no coffins, it's just body bags. And there's a shortage of power, 10 to 16 hours a day that there's no power, and that's every day. That's not just every now and then, every day. And there's an increase in crime, especially in Havana, the bigger centers, there's an increase in crime. You don't see it as much where I was. but it's there. And the damage from the hurricane, Melissa, is still littering all the roads there. And I only had a translator for the services for when I spoke. Then I was on my own, and here I am thinking, I got my polyglue translator with me, except that when there's no power, there's no internet. And you need internet. So that created a small challenge in communication, but we still managed to communicate and get whatever we wanted done. But the one thing I noticed, excuse me, is a discouragement in their eyes that I didn't see before. You look at them, it was almost like a blank stare. They gave up. They've given up. And it's the first time I see that. And I realized that the main thing that I was there for was the pastor's conference and to preach the word, the spiritual component. That was the priority. But I realized that the focus was shifting while I was there from an evangelistic thing that I thought I was going to do to encouraging, to offer hope and healing and encouraging to the pastors and to the local churches down there. They needed someone to come in and just to lift them up. And in the midst of all that, I think God moved. But that's what I faced. And God called me, and I went. So, just to give you an idea now, and I showed this picture before, Pastor Isaiah. This is a picture taken, I think it would be 2012, around that area. And again, like I said, how this all came about, and I'll just share it quickly again today. I don't know if you are all here when I spoke that Sunday, but I went to the Towel Exchange on a holiday and saw Margarita, and she was reading her Bible. So I communicated with her as best I could, and 8 weeks later I got a letter from Pastor Isaiah, and that began this journey, the 25-year journey into Cuba, and this was my 6th mission trip. The first 5, they were all the same. This one was different. That's Pastor Isaiah, anyhow, with his wife Marty, with their son Danny, and Isaac, and Daddy, and Samuel, the grandson. And then as I'm leaving, I'm going to the airport. And Sandy doesn't come in. She just gives me a hug and a kiss and see you later. But anyhow, I had my crew that wished me well on my trip. They prayed for me. They read Psalm 91 for me, an edge of protection on me while I was there. And it really touched me emotionally that they take the time to come out. And that's Ken and Bonnie and Jim Steves and Dave, Lily, and Aaron. And yeah, it was really encouraging to see that. And this is the car that picked me up at Holguin. I'm just fast forwarding here. And it was in pretty good shape, and it was a good, decent ride to Chaparra. And this is the road that goes to Holguin. You can see it's, and this is the road, the things that we saw on the road, where you had to go right to the left to go around. That's just one picture of the roads, the conditions of the road. And that's the main road. That's not a secondary road. So the roads are in really dire condition. And this is my room in Chaparra. It's a very clean home. It's very clean, but it's very rough. Like if you look at the walls, you'll see that the damage that was done because some of it flooded with the Hurricane Melissa. And this is another view of the room where I put my luggage was on there. And this is a story of this bathroom. My second trip there, pastor says to me, "We've made a room for you when you come to visit us. It's just for you." And I'm saying, I know they can't make a room. There's no room to be made. So anyhow, I get there, and they knocked out the wall and put in a 3-piece shower, toilet, and sink so that I'd have my own private bathroom when I went there. And they used it after that while I wasn't there, but still that was done for me. So that was really touching to see that. And there's the sink And like you say, it's very primitive. There's no hot water, it's just cold water. And just to give you an idea of how it deteriorated, this is what Marty basically cooked on. It's charcoal stove because there's no electricity or anything like that. So that's what she did. She got up in the morning, her and her daughter, and they spent all day basically just doing meals, preparing meals. And this is the kitchen, very clean, but again, all the electrical things, they couldn't use it because there's no power. And this is, Pastor and I would eat there every day, and you can see it's very clean. Now, if you look at Pastor, just look at his eyes. Just look, you can see there's a sadness. I don't know if it comes across that way, but there's a sadness, a discouragement in their eyes. I think Hurricane Melissa was really the drop that made the glass overflow, because no power and all that, and then all of a sudden they get hit with this. And it's really... Oh yeah, I take down Italian dressing, that's the Italian. And in the week I was there, we went through 2 bottles. And they had 2 more bottles when I left, so this is interesting. And I took ketchup this time for the first time. And, excuse me. And Pastor Isaiah just loved the ketchup. We went through that pretty quick. And yeah, it was nice to see that there. And this is the mode of transportation, an electric bike. That's what we drove on all week. And believe it or not, that electric bike belongs to his grandson. And when you go to Cuba, there's things you just can't understand. How they got that bike. I don't have a clue, but it's there and we got to use it. And you'll see there's some motorcycles there, some scooters. How they get there, I don't know, but it's definitely not from the government. And this is, if you looked back the other way, that's where Pastor Isaiah's house and church is. Excuse me, here I go. And you can see, maybe it's hard to see there, but to the right of the ground is the leftovers from Hurricane Melissa. And there'll be more pictures here. There's some of what's left there that's still not cleaned up, and that's, what would that be, a month after, Sandy? The month after the hurricane? And it gives you an idea of what's there. And then they came by his house with to pick this stuff up, but what they're doing when they pick that stuff up is the mosquitoes are all in there, and it all comes up to the surface, so you got to be careful. And this here is Danny, his son, had a little piece of property there, and there was plantain on it, and and the vegetables, and that went to the churches, and the hurricane just destroyed it all. So they lost that also, and it's but that's the reality. And this I got to see where I'm going here. This is an old photo here of no, not that one. This one here, eh? So, have I got it right? No, wait a minute. There, this is an old photo of me, I guess in 2012 or 2014 or whatever. And this is Marlena. And that photo is on her dresser in her home. That's how much they appreciated me going down there and spending time with them. And that's Pastor Isaiah's. And I talked to her a little bit. And this here is Dulce Alba Bosovic and Boris Bartolome. And they're both from Venezuela, and they're both dentists. And if you look at behind them, they just live just like everybody else. A doctor there, a dentist there is not special. He's just fortunate that he's a dentist. And so I went to visit them, and he offered me some cough syrup. I said no, because I didn't know what kind of cough syrup I was going to get. But anyhow, she asked for prayer that she'd conceive a child, so I prayed for her. So we'll see if it comes to pass. This is at the beach to show you how they do construction there. A table, a chair, and a ladder. If you really follow it up, and he's just standing on a piece of wood, and that's Cuban construction. And but it's okay. So that's to give you sort of what I've lived with and what I saw when I was down there, what I'd see every day. And our first evening service was Tuesday evening at Pastor Isaiah's church. Normally when I go there, that church is full. There's people outside looking in the windows. People are sick. And the service was at 5 o'clock instead of 7. People might have still been at work because they have work to do. So anyhow, it was a small crowd, and I spoke on Jesus in the desert. And if you were here Sunday, you heard me with the 40 days. And I gave him that to encourage him. You could see that sort of built up some encouragement in him. And that was me speaking. And the Wednesday morning is the pastor's conference. And there's some of the vehicles they come in with. And Pastor, I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, he came in from the church in the sugarcane plantation church, Salvador. And they had to take a different road in because the road that we were going to take Monday to go visit them is washed out. You can't use it. And we had to go in by horse and buggy, and the horse and buggy wouldn't have taken us. So they came in a different way. And I think he came in by motorcycle with his son-in-law. And that's David. That's my translator. He's a young lad at university, taking languages. And he was quite nervous. And if there's a word he didn't know, he'd say, Andy, what's that mean? I said, never mind, just skip over it. Just go, keep going. You know? No, what's that mean? Anyhow, I had explained it to him. And he turned out I got him to relax a bit. I had all the scripture verses in Spanish for him written, so he wouldn't have to go looking anywhere for it. And that's what he has in his hands. And those are the pastors that were there for the conference. And you'll see here, this is the group photo. And just take a look. Not one of them is smiling. Not one of them has a smile on their face. That's the suffering they're going through. And if you look at me, I don't look in too good a shape there, do I? I think that's at the worst for me anyway. So anyhow, that's the group that was there. And I gave each one of them $120, 11 of them. So that's, I think it was $1,320 that they received that day. All pastors except the woman. She's an elder at Pastor Isaiah's church. And he wanted her because they asked me to speak on discernment because there's a lot of false teaching going into Cuba. A lot of churches are breaking up, and there's all kinds of things happening in Cuba right now with the church. But we had a meal after, and there's the group at the meal. That brought a little bit of a smile on their face anyway. And it was now this is outside in what you'd call a lean-to, and they just put curtains up there so that they could all sit together. And there's the other side of the table. And it was Pastor Isaiah's birthday. And Sandy would remember this. And behind where he is, you see the bars there? The one time we went there, that's where they had pigs. And they raised pigs. So, but anyhow, that was... so that conference went good, but that was 4 sessions of an hour. And that really drained me. And but then I was done for the day. I didn't have anything to do that night. So the next day, excuse me, the next day, I asked Pastor Isaiah, Pastor, I want to go visit churches. I want to go visit some of the churches because the Lord pressed on my heart to give each church that I went to $200 so that they could, to encourage them also. And that's the Presbyterian church that I went to. And that's the inside of the church. And when I got there, what really touched me is the pastor had taken the money I had given him to buy roofing, to repair the roof of the church. So we've sowed seeds into the repair of a church. And that's him and I, Lazaro, and that's his wife and Lazaro, picture of them. Then this is the Baptist church. It's a little better quality church. And this is the pastor of the Baptist church. I'd have to look here. What's 1 second, folks. His name is Raul Vicente Reyes. But I'm going to go back just a minute here. I'm just going to tell you what churches were at this pastor's conference. It's Iglesia de Dios en Cristo, Iglesia Presbyterian Biblica de Cuba, Assemblies de Dios, Assemblia de Dios again, the League of Evangelica de Cuba, Iglesia de Dios del Evangelico Completo, and those are the churches that were involved there. Was there anybody else? I'm trying to think here. I moved away from these. Oh yeah, Iglesia de Dios en Cristo, League Evangelica de Cuba, Iglesia Bautista de Cuba, Iglesia de Dios en Cristo. That's the churches that were represented at this pastor's conference that we blessed. And this is another little church we went to. 36. Iglesia de Dios Evangelico Completo, that's Pastor Del Miro. And I sowed seeds there of $200 also into his ministry. And while I was there, he asked if I would speak at his church. And of course, Pastor Isaiah says, no problem. So Sunday at 3 o'clock, I had to speak there. And his son-in-law is the pastor of a church there, Chaparra, Levan, and he's there, and he says, I want you to speak at my church. So that's Friday night. So we went to and preached there. But just to give you an idea, this is the church, and there's the inside of the church. I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, if nothing else, they can get new cushions, or something like that, like anything to improve the church. And if you look at the door, you'll see there's a cementing up there at both ends. That's because they're in a bit of a slope, and when it rains, the water was coming in, so they try to keep the water out when there's rain. But just to the, no, not there, just to the services. That's the only time I had them, so a lot of sign languages and little words here and there. But we got the message out anyway. And then I go back to Pastor Isaiah's church for another service. And again, you'll see just a small turnout. It's there. And I spoke on repentance at that one. And this is the Cuban cowboy. So one Friday morning, they took me to the beach. And I was so glad to get in that water. I was so sick, and just the coldness of the water. I stayed there for an hour, just let the water minister to me, and but that's all I did. And then I get back, that's Friday. Friday, I got to go Friday night at Pastor Levan's church. That's Pastor Levan there. And I didn't realize that it's an outside church. And the majority of the people are women that go to church. And there's, I am with David. And so I go back to the house, and then I told Pastor Isaiah, I said, Pastor, I want to go see Levan Saturday. I want to invest in this church. I want to help him out with his church. So I said, I want to give him $200, but we got to go there tomorrow. So I go there the next day. There's Levan and his wife and his little daughter. And I give him the money. And he says to me, come with me. He could speak a bit of English, so I went. And he took me to this place here. And they took me inside. They were building a church. So our money was sowed into the construction of that church. And I said to him, I said, would you send me some pictures as it progresses? And he sent me a few pictures there. Now you can see the staging is done with the ramp. And you can see it's being cleaned out. So it will eventually be a church. So that's where I sowed the money for the cause of Christ. And, this is okay. So that was there. Then I go to the Assemblies of God Church, which is Pastor Delmas. And Pastor Delmas and Pastor Isaiah are the two main pastors that I really trust. Because if there's a need, and I give them money, if there's a need, they put it out. I remember giving Pastor Isaiah money once, and I said to him, he looked at me, he says, Andy, can I buy a pastor a bicycle? I said, once I put that money in your hand, that's your money. All I ask you is to be a good steward of God's money. That's all I ask. I will not ask for an accounting of what you did with the money. And now we go to the church. That's the Assemblies of God Church. And you can see there's a bigger turnout there. It's a lot bigger building. And one person gave his heart to the Lord that night. He's mute, but he came up with his sister or his mother, I'm not sure. She says he wants to accept Jesus tonight. So we led him to the Lord. And that's Pastor Delmas there with the green shirt. He gave a little message. It's only in Spanish. I didn't bother bringing it to you today. And there's the young lad, big lad that we led to the Lord. And that's the parsonage for the Assemblies of God Church. It's brand new. The Assemblies of God in the United States paid for it. But there's not been one pastor from Assemblies of God that's been to Cuba to that place. Not one. And apparently they're trying to work something out this year. And that's the church. And if you look at that, from the windows, there's 2 windows there. The middle of that window to the right is the church where we were at. You saw us at. Now they want to break through the walls and make it a total church. It'll be one of the biggest churches in Chaparra. And that's going to be the go-to place for all the churches when they get together. So they're really excited about that. And I gave Pastor Delmas $600. I sowed $600 for him to be able to expand that so that the churches can come together in spirit and unity for the cause of Christ in Cuba. And so there's the outside work that had to be done too, but they're not strong on outside work. And then this is Sunday. This is a picture of the doors to Pastor Isaiah's church. And I tried to convince him to, instead of going the second story, to just expand his church to that cement wall, which would give him half again as much space. So I gave him something to consider anyway, because he's got money that we've invested for him to expand that church also. But if the Assemblies of God church is doubles that size, he doesn't have to do the same. He can just expand a little bit bigger. And this is his wife, Maddie. She led in worship, but there's no music, just singing. And that's David and I again. And again, you'll see a small crowd. Just a very small crowd. And there's drums, and all they are is barrels that have been turned into drums. And that was the first set of drums to come into Chaparra, and I think it was 2014 that they got the drums. And I think I told you the story about they needed 2 pieces for the drum set. And I called around in Ottawa, and pastor of Abundant Life Church in Ottawa said, Andy, leave it with me. So he called some people around, and he called one of the guys at his church. And he had been donated a set of drums from the Christian Academy School. And he said the only 2 things he didn't need are the 2 parts that I needed for Cuba. So isn't that a coincidence, eh? A lot of coincidences. Then we go back to the other church, which is, I gotta get the right thing here. The Iglesia de Dios de Evangelico Completo, the one that said, we want you to come and preach. Well, I went there, and this is the woman here, led the worship with no music, just singing. And I got to say one thing. When they sing, it's with all their heart. There's no halfway. It's there. And when they pray, you don't even have to understand the words. You know that they're touching the throne of God when they pray. And it's not just God bless them and amen. There's long prayers, sincere prayers. And this is the pastor. He opened up the service. And they're some of the people that come in to worship. And that's David and I again. And like I said earlier, I invested $200 there. And there's Marco, the other pastor, showed up at the first time I was there, and I gave him $200 because he was on my list also. And I invested $200 in translator. And he's a university student at Holguin, taking languages. And they've got a Christian group there. and they're trying to evangelize the university. So we indirectly sowed into that because I couldn't sow into the university. It's communist run. But there's their group. And what happened is pre-revolution, if you had a church, you kept it. So that's a pre-revolution church. And they're trying to evangelize as best they can. So I figured that $200 indirectly is going to get there somehow. So we sowed into evangelization of the University of Olgan. And I just got a note from the young lad again. So he said, I'm going to send you more pictures. But there's another view of the church. I mean, this is gorgeous, isn't it? It's because it was pre-revolution. So that's what I invested there. And I'm going to give you a breakdown exactly what I did at the end here. And this is a picture of Isaiah's daughter, Maradi, Samuel, Marco, Lay, and their stepdaughter is, I got to look here. Stepdaughter is, excuse me, I should have followed this, but I didn't. Dulde Alba Bosovic. And she was there every morning with her mom. They changed my bedding every 2 days. They washed the floors. They cooked that from morning till 7 o'clock at night. And she's got 4 kids, so I gave her $125. And I know it's not going to be wasted. And her husband is in the military. And he came to see me 2 evenings. I'll leave it at that. And I told you there was oxen carts there. Now there's a picture of one. I was just coming out of the Presbyterian church. There they were with the oxen cart. I said, can I take a picture? So I wanted to show you that that is still going on in Cuba today. And I'm going to go now. I got to see how I can get out of here. Will that work now this time maybe? I don't know. Let's see. No, it won't. Okay. I'll show you a 2-minute video just at the end after this is all done. That's David and I at this church. And that was the last of what I had to do. And that was 3 o'clock on Sunday. And by then I'm praying to God to let me get back to Canada. I'm that sick. But I did what I set out to do for God. I accomplished what I set out. It may not have been as the way I really wanted it, but it worked out anyway. So I just thank God for it. And I went back to Holden in a decent little car again. A little Lada, very clean. So, and then I get to the airport. I don't know if you're aware of it. I get there at 8:30 because my flight's leaving at 11. I want to make sure I'm there early to find out the flight is delayed till 5 o'clock, 4:45. And let me tell you, they don't have fancy restaurants at their airport. And I'm sick, and I got to sit there. So, and I know that my connecting flight is finished because as we're landing in Toronto, my connecting flight's leaving for Moncton. So my daughter got me a flight into, I transferred my flight till the next day at 2 o'clock. So I get to the airport, I got no clothes. I left even my blazer, I left everything behind. And it's cold in Toronto. And I don't want to go outside. I'm sick. I don't want to go outside. So I went to WestJet, asked if they'd pay for a room for me. That's another issue. That's another story. But anyhow, she says, well, there's a Sheraton just up the escalator here. You don't even have to go outside. And I said, well, I looked up. I said, I could just imagine the price. But I said, you know what? I don't care if it's $1,000. I'm not stepping outside. So I had a good night's sleep, got on the plane, got home, and that's the extent of that. And then I got really sick, as you know. But here's the breakdown of the money. Pastors' conference, $1,320. Each pastor got $120. Iglesia de Dios Evangelico Completo got $200. Iglesia Liga Evangelica de Cuba, $200. Iglesia Baptista, $200. Iglesia Presbyteriano, I think is right, de Cuba, $200. The Sugarcane Plantation Church, I gave $250. They're in the middle of nowhere, and nobody goes to visit them. So I gave them a little extra money. And Iglesia Bethel, this is where the seniors are fed in Camado. And there's someone from the church here gave 250 American specifically for that. And I topped it up. We sent $500 to them to feed the seniors. As you know, they eat 5 days a week at lunch. And on the weekend, if they can't afford to buy 2 little pieces of bread, they don't eat all weekend. And so that's the reality of what's going on there. So we've invested again into the feeding program of the seniors. And then Iglesia Sola Vida de Cuba, that's a church that they started construction. So I gave him an extra $160. Iglesia de Assemblies of God, that's Pastor Delmas, I gave him $600. Iglesia Bueno Samaritano, that's Pastor Isaiah's church, I gave him $850 because I know that money is going to be distributed. And all the medical supplies are at Pastor Isaiah's. They will be distributed as the needs are there. And I gave, like I said, the translator $200 because that money is going to go into Olgan University. Maddie, his wife, I gave her $100 after all that she's done. I wanted her to feel that she was worthy of something. And Daddy, the daughter, like I said, I gave her $125. Sammy and Marco, I gave them $30 each. They helped me with my internet as best they could. They helped me with my computer. They put me some Cuban SIM cards in my phone. Anyhow, I just gave them the phone and I just sat back, do what you got to do. And it's Marco that we used his electric bike all week as the needs were. So I just wanted to let him know I appreciated it. And Isaiah is his son in Cuba. When we first were planning our trip, he had rented a car in Cuba. And we were going to use that all week, and everything was canceled. Well, Cuba would not refund him the $700. And I just felt responsible, you know, that and Costa Rica are better off than Cuba, but they're still not very, very affluent. And he just had a baby. And I'm just going to read you what he sent to me when I told him. I sent him the money, I sent him the money Monday. And he says to me, I'll go to the office tomorrow morning. Thank you, Pastor. Truly arrived at the right moment. God knows everything. Today, a hospital gave ready to go home under precautions for baby Abby, and Lydia is recovering also. So she had the cesarean, and I don't know what their hospitalization is. Do they have to pay or whatever it is? And he sent me, then he sent me another note. God bless you, Pastor, and Happy New Year to you and Sandy. I got the money from the office, and everything started to get better. Baby and Lydia still recovering well. So I just felt a responsibility to ensure that he doesn't take a loss for a mission trip that I had planned. So that's is the extent of it. Do you have any questions or well, I'll say this before I forget. I went with Canadian money. They accept Canadian money. It's better to go with American money, as I found out. But if there's a little tear on that dollar, they won't take it. So if you're going to go, make sure that it's new, fresh, crisp bills that are not tore, that nothing happened to them. Because, I mean, the guy came up to me, just this little tear. I mean, it doesn't do nothing to the dollar, but they rejected it, refused it. They're into pesos, and I don't know what that exchange rate is. And I had asked them once way back, I said, how do you live? Because a lot of it's American, and he looked at me and says, Andy, don't ask, we don't know. We just live. So, and they use the black market. They can't survive without the black market. And when I'd go down there, if they were going to the black market, they made sure I wasn't anywhere near it, and they'd go pick up chicken or whatever they needed. And if they were going to go to the black market, and I'd say, where are you going? That's the black market. Just stay back, don't say nothing. So, but they have to do that in order to be able to survive. There's no way. And I just want to show you a little thing here, if it'll work. I hope it'll work. Oh yeah, here we go. Close. And here. Just to give you a little sample of, now this church is the last church I went to. A lot of these people aren't aware of the history of Pastor Isaiah and I, so I just shared it with them.
I've known Pastor Isaiah for approximately 25 years.
Conozco al pastor Isaías por aproximadamente 25 años.
Amén.
And I want to just share how this came about.
Y quiero compartirles cómo fue que esto ocurrió.
I was on a holiday here in Cuba,
Estaba de vacaciones aquí en Cuba
and I went to change to the towel exchange to get a clean towel.
y fui a realizar un intercambio
And a woman there by the name of Margarita
y una mujer cuyo nombre es Margarita
was reading her Bible.
estaba leyendo una Biblia
And I recognized the Bible.
y reconocí la Biblia.
So I went to her in
Hallelujah.
my best Spanish.
Me acerqué a ella con mi mejor español.
I said, me, pastor, you, pastor. Right, me.
Algo como yo, pastor, fue la forma que utilicé de decirle que era pastor.
And 8 weeks later, I got a letter from Pastor Isaiah.
Y tiempo después recibí una carta del pastor Isaías.
And thus began my journey with Cuba.
Y así fue como comenzó mi viaje a Cuba.
Amén.
Gloria a Dios.
So every time I come, I feel like I'm coming home.
Cada vez que vengo siento como si viniera a casa.
Amén.
My goals and objective when I came this time
Mi meta, mi objetivo
was to draw us back to the Word.
cuando vine es traerlos de regreso a la palabra.
To the Word of the living God.
A la palabra del Dios viviente.
To the truth for us to have discernment
Para la verdad, de forma tal que tengamos discernimiento
in the evil days that we are living.
en estos días tan malos que estamos viviendo.
Aleluya.
So I'm going to be quoting some scripture.
Anyhow, I've been involved, like I said, with Chaparra for a long time, and it's all small churches. And they thanked me again this time that, Andy, you take time to come to the small churches. A lot of them will go to Havana and to the bigger centers, to the bigger churches. But my heart is with Chaparra. My heart is there to help them and Sandy and I help them on an ongoing basis besides that. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting me with the finances. I pray that you're satisfied with the way I spent them. And thank you for donating the medical part of it. You don't know what that means. You don't know what that $200 means to them and what they can do with it. So what a blessing. I went there, like I said, I was sick. And I'm starting to understand now that God just wanted me to understand their pain. And believe me, I understand their pain now. So God bless and thank you very much. So Father, Pastor.
You restate what a $20, what's that equivalent to again? $20 for 6 months?
$15 American is about a month's salary. So it gives you an idea. And the doctors, the two doctors you saw, they may see 25 or 30 a month because they're doctors, but they live just like the rest. Like there's no status in that sense. The status is behind the gated communities. Outside of the gated communities, you're all sort of on the same level. And some people, I don't know, like I said, they have stuff like that. Oh, I'll just say this. Isaiah, one of his sons in Puerto Rico, the other son's in Texas, and they send money as best they can or as help as best they can to their mom and dad and to whoever. And they bought a vehicle, a car, or a van, and they paid, I think, $6,000 for it. They want to give it to the church in Chaparra so that if there's a van in the church, for the church in Chaparra, it'll be used by all the churches. But to get it by boat across is $9,000. And then the entry fee for it into Cuba is $6,000. So that's be $20,000 to get that vehicle, and they're working at trying to raise that money. But the reason I'm saying that is that if they wanted to buy the car there, it's $30,000. So it's still cheaper on the long run. But that's what they're facing, and I'm surprised that the Cuban government is still suppressing them to that point because the country is broke. I mean, the infrastructure is gone. I don't know if they could ever get it back. Yeah. Yeah, they were always visible. And at one point, I needed what they call the religious visa. I think that's the word for it. If I had a religious visa, I could preach anywhere in Cuba. I went this time without a religious visa. That means I can only preach in house churches. Unless things have changed, I don't know if lately, but that's the way it was. So I'd get that. But the religious visa was $200 American. So, you know, every which way they had a way of making money for the Cuban government. Oh, yeah. We know that the electrical issues, you know, 10, 14 hours a day, no hydro. Well, his son, I don't know how, Danny, well, you have to know Danny. Danny's a wheeler dealer. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. I believe he's saved, but I'm not convinced. But anyhow, he's a nice guy, very good. His dad was having trouble with, well, they had no hydro, so he came and he gave his dad a hookup, backup hookup for hydro. If you looked at it, you'd swear it was top of the line. It's battery operated. I don't know how he got it there. I don't know how he installed it, but it's all there. I wouldn't touch anything electrical there because the codes aren't too good. But anyway, he did that, and he's got a little Honda generator at the back to charge the batteries when they run out. Anyhow, he's got his dad hooked up a little bit. But it's still, when the power is gone, there's no internet. There's a lot of stuff is not there. So, but it's, yeah, I'm really glad I went. I think that if nothing else, we gave them hope again for a little while. That's not going to last a long time, but it'll last a while. And that they know that somebody cares. There's two churches. The church in Gatineau paid my airfare. And to give you an idea, the airfare, the original airfare was $1,100. The second airfare was $2,100 East Andy, something like that. So, but they had given me $2,000, so that covered the airfare to go for me to go there. So, but anyhow, it broke my heart this time, to be honest with you. I left there emotionally drained, along with physically drained, and I'm still processing some of that. It's going through my mind, like, you know, like I remember this, remember that, and all that, you know, the little things that are going on. And young Marco, like I said, this young lad's 13 years old, and he looked at me as an idol, you know, like, and I'm saying, what hope does he have? What hope? Aside from God. I'll say one thing, they don't have anything, but they do have faith. And their faith is strong. If they didn't have faith, they'd have nothing. So, anyhow. Well, I was served, I don't know where to get their food when I go. I don't ask. I just eat. But anyhow, they had fish, they had pork, they had chicken, and a lot of white rice, a lot of plantain. So I was well fed. Well, this time I went down, they had cucumbers and tomatoes, but I had read not to eat them because some of the disease was on the outside skin in that, so I didn't have any of that. I didn't want to take a chance. I mean, I was sick enough, I didn't want to, because I took 2 mouthfuls of their water once, and I was very sick. And I'll just close off on a little funny note. I was in celebrating the 10th anniversary service of a church, and we ate. There was the doctor and his wife and myself. And we ate. There's a big vat outside, and they're stirring this stuff in there, and the pigs and the chicken are running around, and, you know, it's very sanitary. But anyhow, so we ate, and Sunday morning I go with Pastor Isaiah to the church in Camado, and we kneel down before service and have a little prayer. Next thing you know, I start getting cramps. And I'm praying. I said, Lord, you didn't bring me to Cuba to embarrass me. God, you got to look after me. So now I get up, and I start preaching, and the cramps are getting worse, and the sweat's just coming off of me. And I'm saying, Lord, let me finish this, let me finish this. So I finished the message, and God bless, and I just took off to the back. There's a bathroom at the back. Come to open the door, it's locked, and there's nobody inside. So I see this man over there say, hey, fix the door. Anyhow, God did not, I'll just leave it at that. God did not embarrass me. But I'll tell you, I was sick, and the doctor and his wife were sick, just the three of us. So there's something we ate that we shouldn't have or whatever. But those are stories that happen when you're down there. And the water, they give you water in a big bottle. And they had filled the big bottle with their water because we're going to the beach. And they brought them out, and I just took 2 mouthfuls of it, thinking it's my water. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, Sandy's there on that trip. At 2 o'clock in the morning, she saw me in pain, and But those are just part of what happens when you go there. You got to expect the unexpected, and you just go with the flow. Any other questions? Yep. Yes. I didn't get into the details of that. All I know is that the couple pastors, but one said to me, we know that message comes from God because it's exactly what we need. So I know that I was in, and it wasn't the type of message that I gave here. It was modified to there, because I'm going into their culture. I don't know their culture. So I got to pray, Lord, I don't understand their culture. What are they going through? What is it, but they really said that they needed that. And the pastor had asked me, Pastor Isaiah had asked me to do that. So there was a need, but apparently there's churches that have split. There's disunity amongst the brethren, and there's all kinds of things going on. And you'd have to be there for a long while to start to get into understanding what's behind what they're asking, Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, at Christmas, I'll just give you an idea. Is it this Christmas or Christmas before? No, last year, not this year. I had given them some money at Christmas. And the next thing you know, I get a picture from Pastor Isaiah, and they got 4 pigs, I think, that they're on a rotisserie. And I'm pretty sure that's some of the finances I sent down there. And they fed 4 churches, the whole church, with rice and that, with that. So they don't abuse the money, they don't misuse the money, but they make sure that everyone gets a share of it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's been going on. Like, I've been doing pastors' conferences, 2 at least, when I go for 2 weeks, one in Camado and one there. I've been doing that for 10, 12 years now. And they're all there together, and yeah. But I think when you're at that, when your boat's all suffering the way you are, you have to come together. You have to learn to share and do, but anyhow. So I just, hey? Yeah, because the Assemblies of God is Pentecostal, the Baptist Church, Presbyterian Church, Assemblies of God in Christ, which is like Assemblies of God, but it's more the black population in the States that have that, but they all work together, so yeah. Some of them get it through correspondence, some of them have schools, there's schools there. Now, the level of education, I don't know, would be at the caliber that we get here. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know the fullness of it, but I don't think it would be the same level. So, but yeah. Yeah, chemists, doctors, taxi, even driving taxi sometimes pays more than being a doctor. Yeah, so that's where their money is, the tips. And they're starting to privatize some of Cuba, eh? Like there's restaurants that are a little privately owned and stuff like that, because the government, I don't think, can do any more for them. And at one point up in Camado, they have a farm, and the government says, do what you want, we can't do any more. So whatever you do, you do. So I think the government's starting to realize that they're in big trouble there. I don't know if this keeps up. I can see a total collapse in Cuba eventually if this keeps up. So, Well, they're not far off from 80 in the sense of the poverty. They're not warriors like in 80, but like it's yeah. So yeah. Anyhow, that's it. Oh. Well, I'll tell you how I do it. I do it through the post office, MoneyGrams. I send it that way. Now, I've tried to, he told me, I sent it to Costa Rica because I don't believe, I have a problem sending it to Cuba. I don't know who to trust or I don't know about Cuba. So I sent it to Costa Rica, and he has a way to send it to his dad. So that's how it's done. But, and I've been challenged a few times by MoneyGram. Stop, what are you doing? Why is that money going down there and whatever? So I've learned, like, I just sent some money down, the $700 plus, and I said it's a late Christmas gift. So it's so that it can get down there with no questions. But MoneyGram, but there's also direct deposit for ISA, but I tried it, and Sandy and I are pulling our hair out trying to figure that one out. But if we could work that, it'd be direct to him, it'd be even better. Yeah. But there's got to be ways, and with the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada one time, that I was with, I wanted to sort of direct some money to them, but they withhold 10%. And I want the money to go to Cuba. I don't want the money to go into anybody else's pocket. I want it to go to Cuba. So that's why I didn't go through them. And so anyhow, it's not easy. No, I couldn't believe it. They didn't even check nothing. They just waved me through, and mind you, I prayed. I said, Lord, let me get through here. I don't want to start my week off by, anyhow, yeah. I think they know. I had 2 big suitcases. I don't know if you saw it. I had 2 big suitcases, a small suitcase, and a knapsack. I mean, for 1 week holiday. Anybody that's, hey? And a man with that on top, yeah, on top of that, yeah. So they know that the 2 big suitcases were full of stuff, eh? And I just left that there to them, and I know that it'll be distributed as the needs or whatever. They may even go to the hospital and give some, I don't know. Yeah, so. Anyhow, again, thank you very much, and God bless. There we go. Hey? Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
How you feeling now?
So. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to see the doctor. Called the doctor Monday. I got a call her. She's going to have a telephone call with me. Some of my blood tests came back. So I'll see what it is. But this is not the same cough. I'm wondering if I don't have a touch of asthma because it's just in here. It's just, yeah. 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 So it could be just that too. Eh? You can't bring it up. Eh? It's just a dry hack. And all of a sudden something will let go. But anyhow, I hope this met your needs, eh?
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, yeah.